California's housing crisis and homeless epidemic. Two seemingly related problems that are one problem. It's the same problem that started the state of California. The conquistadores and the Dracos behind them. And who gets the reins of the land through history? I've mentioned the doctrine of discovery and how the Lutheran and the Bible Covenant and the Presbyterian Church no longer accept that document. Well, it might take some years, but of all places, California has suffered, perhaps more than anywhere else in the USA, by the phoniness of the inverted ones takeover. And yet, California is an example of how, even for someone such as myself, materialism, the availability of goods, can create a massive popularity issue. The Russian mafia calls California the big store. I say Santa Cruz is the crown jewelry store in the big store. I'm very thankful we have someone on the city council named Justin Cummings who decriminalized psilocybin as his first action when he got in office. And he also passed a rule that some of these perhaps billionaires that have mansions along West Cliff that leave them empty now are forced to pay a huge tax for empty house tax, which seems totally appropriate. But I'm one of those people that if there was affordable housing available, I would move into it. But it's not going to be available. And that is what this video is about. And the question is, why is affordable housing never going to be available in Santa Cruz? Well, it's a very obvious and simple reason. You know, I remember a story years ago, perhaps 10 years ago. This woman in her early 30s who dyed her hair red, I can't remember her name. She got in the mayor's seat coming from being a parole officer because she was passionate about creating affordable housing in Santa Cruz. She promised to have a discussion with the whole city about it through her term as mayor, which she did. Just like Obama and most presidents, seeing a photograph of her after that year, she looked about 10 years older. The reason being is probably due to the fact that the inverted ones and the Illuminati have full control over the Santa Cruz housing market. And so this person became totally worn out, emotionally drained by simply talking to these possessed beings about creating affordable housing. How is this possible? Why is this happening? Why is this such a big issue? Why is it that it's unresolvable? Perhaps it is due to the infiltration, man. Years ago, a friend of mine told me the city manager is the Rockefeller man. After what has happened in the last 2.5 years, I had to think more about what he meant and why I've refused to try to participate, to try to compete for an apartment or a house, to think that even if I was on assistance, that I would ever be able to have a balanced life when there is no rent control. And the whole contest is fake. When we see them build these new apartment complexes all the time, and through the corruption, they promise they're going to have 10% affordable or whatever. So, but it becomes none or not as many as they said. And we'll see apartments for rent that are empty, that are renting for $3,000 or $4,000 a month. So on some place like SoCal Road or downtown Santa Cruz near the homeless laying there. Well, Barry Swinson needs to somehow figure out that Someone who can spend $3,000 on an apartment is going to go rent a house. But unfortunately, now we're having people from the big city and regions like New York City, LA, and San Francisco who don't really think that's too much money. So when I think about this place called the Bridge Center, used to be called the Warming Center, the very friendly Gemini sun sign Brent Adams, one day I see him, we're both on bicycle on Pacific Avenue, and he has on the upside down 5-pointed star. I said, "Look, see, you're openly a Satanist wearing this t shirt." He said, "I'm not a Satanist, I'm a Luciferian." And since Lisa Renee has helped me learn the difference, someone has mentioned the idea that the Luciferians wouldn't be so interested in killing someone like me as they are interested in making normies their slaves, simply, or getting you to cut up your body in obedience, simply because they respect someone who studies or is interested in learning mechanics of consciousness and spirituality more than they respect the obedient idiots. And so on this one occasion, I told Brent Adams, you know, it's the invisible hand of the man that controls the housing market in Santa Cruz. And Brent told me, well, there's no invisible hand. In perfect Illuminati parlance, perfect denial, there's no invisible hand. And he seemed to have had to work really hard to procure a space to serve the homeless. But he was so harassed by the city of Santa Cruz, who refused to, he said, participate in helping him while they were taking millions of dollars to help the homeless, which they would often put in their pocket. He was so harassed by them that I have to ask him here on YouTube, how cool is Lucifer now? How cool is Lucifer now that you claim to be a Luciferian Gemini hero trying to save the homeless or help out people, probably doing a lot of good works to help out a lot of people, doing their laundry, giving a place to store their stuff and get showers and food. And what did he receive from the city for that? Harassment. What did he receive from the city for providing services to the homeless that were less like a FEMA camp? They refused to help him. So I wonder, does he think Lucifer is so cool now? And I wonder how many more years will go by before Santa Cruz and other towns with these issues will either get rid of the city manager position and spend that money on affordable housing, or distribute that money to the city council, and get rid of all positions that are there to prevent help under the guise of helping. Why did no one think that BG had a conflict of interest in appearing on any media, giving us any health advice? Why does people think BG is a philanthropist when they would contribute money to corporations and organizations that they own as their philanthropy? Why would anybody think somebody like Anthony Fauci would ever give them a straight answer when he's paid so much money by pharmaceutical corporations to do what he does? Why would anybody think a city manager would ever care about creating affordable housing when they're controlled by the Dark Lord's forces to create this insane market capitalism? Why would anybody think that the person speaking to you now has no desire to participate in life and civil discourse and be a part of the community, and assume that he's a hermit or disabled because that's what they see? Well, the reason being is because I'm not interested in participating in your corruption. I'm not interested in participating with your systematic abuse. I'm here. I'm standing with Dave Rodriguez. I'm standing with Vandana Shiva. I'm saying, here, let's provide solutions. Let's provide answers for your insane, corrupted, infinitely non-ending, systematic, created fake competitive issues. If there was such a thing as affordable housing availability in Santa Cruz, then would they be able to have all these people work 7 days a week, 3 jobs, to think that they have to be wage slaves to live in the cold water paradise with perfect waves and all the organic food and ganja and intellectuals? Well, guess what? That is what creates the madness. That is what creates the cost of living, the pace of life being frantic, the stress, stressing out of your mind being normal. Because you agree when your draconian masters tell you what your life is going to cost. To me, whether it was the time when I was digging through the garbage to collect cans or to get food out of the garbage, to eat, to survive, living in a tent, an apartment, or a fat house, all of that is irrelevant. What's relevant is that I participate in this conversation. What's relevant is that I have a place at the table. The grand council of people who take back their mind, their bodies, and their spirits from our fake lords and realize they're fake lords and they stole all their power. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are objects. Every thought that comes into my mind has come from a source. It could have been my ego, it could have been the Christ, it could have been the devil, and it could be programs from demons. The awakening comes when we realize we don't have to believe lies and we don't have to obey demons. And if a spirit is trying to tell you to kill or hurt yourself or someone or others, you can learn to breathe deeply and not respond. And when a brilliant idea beams in your head for a harmless invention or song, you can learn to honor that and to create it and make it real, but yet also realize that it's all a collective dance spiritually, that your spirit guides and the divine beings above were helping you in this process. Thusly, it is imperative to know that because of the amount of money or social responsibility someone is given, particularly when you know that they're given this responsibility by the dark ones, it is not real. It is designed to block the resource. If you cut off your body parts because they convinced you that is what you wanted, it is designed to block your ability to grow rather than relieve you of all this suffering. The rent, the property tax are designed to perpetuate these systems that are in existence. They're not there so that if you pay the rent, you pay the property tax, it proves that you are a good person. According to the Saturn Tech Black Magic Cube system, you are a good person. The age of Aquarius is about groups, collectivity, the hive mind, and individuals who can create communities who are not in this, who are in respect, peace, and love. And my wish for my audience and myself and everyone is to fully get your head out of Satan's ass and realize liars will never help you do anything but suffer and reincarnate in a slave family. And the future is for those who have the courage to stand up and say, no, we want harmonious, respectful, peaceful, co-creative, harmless solutions. And they won't come from Satan's ass, they come from Christ.